So we've got the Raiders going up against the Bengals. I really have a hard time figuring out why online polls and spreads are what they are sometimes. I mean, when you look at this game on ESPN's site, something like 85% of fans are picking the Bengals. Do you know that your quarterback and best receiver went on injured reserve in the past few weeks? I mean, is that registering? And I'm not sure if you've watched Raiders games the past few weeks, but Derek Carr's come on. I mean, he might actually be meshing with Gruden's offense here, and that's a big deal. I mean, he may have just saved his job in Oakland, because we know how much Gruden hates his quarterbacks every time. Just every time. Every time. Yeah, I got the Raiders in this one, and it's not going to be pretty at all. The Bengals have one player on offense. They have Mixon. Any defense, I mean, you can get a high school defense on the field and tell them they have to think about one person and they'll stop them. Okay? When you have one person to stop, it's easy for NFL defensive coordinators. And I understand we're using that term very loosely when we talk about Oakland, Vegas, whatever you want to call them. But trust me, even the Raiders can stop one player. On the Raiders side, I mean, yeah, it's not great. I mean, they got Cook. They got rid of Amari Cooper. I understand they don't really have a lot of receivers there. But they got Doug Martin. And when your one player to worry about is a quarterback, it's not really one player. It's everybody he's throwing the ball to. So now you have to make sure 4 people out running routes don't get separation. One of those guys is going to get separation almost every time. It happens on every play. You watch enough film, there's somebody open in the NFL on every play. It's a matter of whether or not the quarterback sees the guy or, he actually feels like throwing the ball. And Derek Carr's done a really good job the past few weeks, so I would assume that would continue. And I would also assume that a team that has their starting quarterback and number 1 wide receiver on injured reserve can't do much on offense. I'm sorry, Cincinnati. You had the makings of a decent team at some point this year, I'm sure. But, yeah, the Cincinnati in you has really come to fruition the end of the season here. Please fire your head coach, and maybe just think about drafting Andy Dalton's replacement, because at this point we know who he is, and him being on injured reserve is a really sweet excuse. So, yeah, start looking at the draft boards and hope a good quarterback drops to you guys. And as far as Oakland goes, you own half the draft board, so it doesn't really matter.